Thank you, Bob. You know, when I was a freshman student at VU in the late 70s, I too had to go in to see Dr. Beckus, but it wasn't because I was in trouble. I was a journalism student, and of course Fred Walker made us interview top-notch people. We had to interview state senators and legislators, and my turn came as a freshman to interview Dr. Beckus, and I'm sure you ushered me into the office.
I remember you very well.
Because I go in, and here's this nice lady, she's smiling, really smiling, and I go in, and Beckus is sitting behind the chair, and I was shaking like a leaf, and then I started asking my questions like we were trained to do, and he just started laughing, and then suddenly he was relaxed. And you were probably listening on the other side, having a little laugh yourself, maybe, I don't know. You know, one other thing that I forgot to tell you about a while ago when I was telling you about all these things that Gazella does, she apparently is keeping Hallmark in business. That's what one of her daughters told me, at least. She's fond of sending people a greeting, whether it's birthday or holiday or for any other occasion. She sends them to friends and colleagues and family members throughout the entire year. And each card includes a personal, handwritten note from Gazella, and I guess these things number in the hundreds. So that's something that few people do these days, and I think that's really special. Now we come to the part of the program that I really like, and I think that it's pretty cool. We want you, all of you, to share your story, your anecdotes, your tributes to Gazella. And to begin, I'd like to call on my friend and my colleague, Matt, who is our chair of the English department. Here is Matt Norman.
Hey everybody, I am honored to be able to start just sharing a couple of tributes for Gazella. You know, as the very generous words have already been said, very true, very honest words have been said about Gazella. I was trying to think, you know, what could I say? You know, what might I say? I remember just a couple of weeks ago when Bernie kind of made the announcement in our faculty senate meeting about who the recipient of this award was going to be. These are usually very, you know, kind of stuffy type meetings. You know, they rely on Robert's Rules of Order and, you know, very, very, very formal in that way. And then Bernie kind of mentioned it in open discussion, and I could not help myself. I went, oh! It was like very notably, very noticeably there, but I was just so thrilled because what as has been said already, what an obvious, what a wonderful selection here. I'm you know, just so glad to know you as a friend, and I know that, you know, my wife Tara and I, we are definitely one of the many people, as Bernie mentioned before, who have felt that warm, loving presence from you, that welcoming presence. I could share many stories of pieces of advice that you've given me in a lot of capacities. Sometimes in our elder board meetings, I will mention something and Gazella will give me a very knowing look like, yes, this is something that, you know, I have said that she has said when she was chair of the elder board or an officer of the church or something like that. Or there have been times where I've mentioned something happening at Vincennes University and she'll say something like, yeah, I know all about that. And I'm like, yes, I'll bet you do. You know, it's... But most importantly, you know, the thing that just kind of keeps coming back to me, and Bernie kind of alluded to it before, is just absolutely how incredibly generous your heart is. And as he was talking about the cards, just the idea of that, I was like, yes, I can attest to this, that, you know, any time that we're in one of our church prayer meetings or that we're in a church committee meeting or something like that, there's always at some point we might talk about a prayer request or something that might be going on, and Gazella will just offhandedly, you know, not as a way to brag or anything like that, but just mention how she wrote someone a note and they wrote back, and she's just always has such an amazing heart for that, for maintaining a connection with people, with letting them know that she's thinking about them, you know, a way to just kind of show a little bit of God's love for each of them in just a, you know, small but I think very, very significant way. And so I can attest to that just from having seen it, and I can attest to it from having felt it. when Tara and I moved here in 2010, and we were looking around for churches, and it was a bit of a long process. When we came to Vincennes First Church, Gazelle was one of the people that, within, I'm sure the first time or the first couple of weeks would have greeted us warmly. And when we had our son Samuel, who's about to turn 11 years old, so when he was in the nursery, she watched him, and we immediately just could sense how fortunate and how blessed we were to have such a great woman in our lives as we're so far away from home. So we're definitely one of the many people that can also count ourselves as being like adopted by her, and we couldn't be happier by that. So like I said, I could say much more, but I wanted to filibuster a little bit so that you guys could get you many stories and things in line. But I'll just end by saying we are so thankful to know you. Congratulations. God bless you.
All right, thank you, Matt. Now I'd like to introduce to you Larry Russ. Larry?
I'll make the right entrance. Right down. Well, my connection to Gazella, I'll get into that in a moment, but I just wanted to touch a little bit on the great facility we're in and about Phil Shelton, the original Dr. Phil. And Phil was president of the Kiwanis in 1987, I believe. And I followed him in 1988 as the president, and then P.R. Sweetie was after me. But anyway, Bob mentioned that Phil was always a real competitor in all of our sales contests. And so in my getting here today, I looked up, and he won the prestigious sales championship in 1990. And it was amazing to me. I mean, he wasn't the only one. I mean, I see a lot of great salespeople out here. Fred, Mark Hill, and a few others. Oh, Dave Rolligan, what a sales guy he was in his day. But Phil, I don't know how he had the time. I don't know if he sent his nurses out selling ads or what. I don't know how he did it. I accused him of having a male nurse named Guido. Always had his hand in his vest, and so he never took no for an answer on these. But anyway, it was, and I noticed in a top 10 list I prepared for him, there was a mention of a Big Bird lunchbox. Is that true, or is that made up? Did he have a Big Bird lunchbox? That must be a false.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And then anyway, just one mention about Chuck at the Charles Hetty place. When I came to Vincennes in 1969 as sports editor, Chuck, was a star player for the Lawrenceville Indians. And he was really good. He was tough. He was a really rugged rebounder, and so I knew him for a long time also. Getting to Gazella. She's a little bit like the Energizer Bunny, in my opinion. Unlike me, when I retired and I backed off of a lot of my volunteer work and civic duties, and I no longer a member of the Kiwanis, which I probably should rectify, but unlike me, she keeps going and has never stopped. And so many, it's just amazing. And I've known her since the time I came here, but the friendship that's developed over the years has been mainly through my wife, Aretha, who passed away this past June. And they were best friends. And so consequently, we became really good friends with her and her husband, Paul. But until she enters your life in a particular way, you don't fully appreciate. And so I fully appreciate it because she has been there for me during these last 6 months, like, hard to believe. It just, I couldn't have made it through without you. And so, she helped me pick up the vault, the funeral home, and has been there to help me go through all the things that you have to go through when that happens to you. And then, you know, as all this happens, you get to see and know about all the other things that you knew about, kind of, but it really hits home. And I can tell you this too, that anytime you mention anything, she knows somebody that can help you. She's usually got their phone number that she can call. I know someone, yeah, and it's true. And so I can't put into words. You hear, you know, they always say that. I can't put into words. Well, you can try. I'm trying. But, it's just been amazing that to become your friend and close friend through this ordeal, and I think that very deserving of the award and all the other awards that you haven't gotten and are going to get. So, thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Now we'd like to go to our Zoom audience. I'd like to call on Gazella's daughter, Krista. Krista, can you hear me, and can we hear you?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you. Go right ahead.
All right, fantastic. Hey, Mom. Hi, this is Krista Summit. I am Gazella's oldest daughter, and I want to say, hey, y'all, from Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where I live now, as does my sister and nephew. And so, first, I just want to thank you all for loving on my mom and honoring her philanthropy and her humanitarian efforts. It means the world to us, and especially, you know, we're kind of halfway across the country, and so we're grateful for recognizing her and loving her and being community for her as Vincennes always has been. Bernie kind of said everything that he and I talked about, so I don't know, I was trying to think what I could add. And one thing I will say is there's a history professor here at NC State named Dr. Blair Kelly. And I heard her say something one time in regard to her church work, and she said, ministry is what happens when there are no cameras around. And I think that kind of summarizes how my mom approaches her volunteer work, be it in the community or one-on-one or in ministry and church. You know, she's not one to necessarily seek a spotlight, and there are many things that I've seen her do and give of herself personally that even as a kid I didn't always understand, and I won't always go into detail. You know, I've seen her minister to people who society might say might look down on, may not look the best, may not smell the best, may not have a lifestyle that some in society would say is acceptable. But my mom's always just had a very Christ-like attitude and been a champion for the least of these, as Scripture says. And I remember her telling me one time I asked her, as a kid, you're like, oh, why are you talking to them? Why are you, you get embarrassed. And she said, Chris, I always feel like you should be for the underdog. She said, the person on top's going to always have people cheering for them and supporting them, but the underdog may not. And she probably may not even remember saying that to me, but it always stuck with me. And so, I just hope going forward that she continues to do what makes her happy, and at the same time doesn't overextend herself. And I'm gonna count on y'all as well as us to make sure that doesn't happen as best we can. And as I said, she's as has been said, she's definitely a connector and definitely a people person. She was LinkedIn long before internet was even thought about. She can pull out her Rolodex or her address book and she can connect you with whomever you need to meet with or talk to or reach out to. So anyway, I love you, Mom. I am so very proud of you today and every other day, and congratulations on your award.
Okay, thank you, Krista. Dana, are you with us?
I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone. And can you hear me all right?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Dana Summit here, daughter number 2. Probably more likely that you know me as Keegan's mother, the grandchild's mom. So, gotta get that in there. Also, I'm wholly responsible for the it's not my first radio comment that Bernie mentioned there. So I'll own up to that. Mom just said that to me last week in a little smarty, funny manner, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna throw that in, and she doesn't even know. I'm going to feed this to Bernie Schmidt in this commentary. Let me take a step or two back here. So I think where I want to start with this is first and foremost, heartfelt congratulations, Mom. I can't think of anyone better to receive this award, anyone that's really devoted all of their life to serving and giving back to others and bettering the community. And as she was preparing notes for this, one of the angles I mentioned to her was perhaps mentioning how her service has played a part in someone reaching their potential, someone she's advised, counseled, listened to, or whatnot, because there really are over 1,000 people that we could go through and we'd be here all day and night, but there are many. and some of those you've seen and know that they're good friends, but there are many others behind the scenes, behind a door, that have gotten advice over the years and have certainly benefited richly. One of the values that I noticed here in the Kiwanis organization was altruism in your objects. One of those in Object 5 was to render altruistic service. And, altruism is defined by Oxford as showing a disinterested and selfless concern for the well-being of others, unselfish. And it really is fitting for my mom. She's really exemplified that. And so I'm very proud, and as a family, we've been proud to share her with the community and the greater community. And as Krista said, there were times that things weren't convenient. There were days that I didn't want to have to get up a little earlier on a Sunday morning to go over and pick up a student from BU to take them to church with us and back. And I groaned and moaned and things like that. But, over time, I told Mom, I really appreciated that because she's provided a wonderful role model to us as a person, as a human. It's been role modeling, and it's not taking away from us or our childhood in any way, shape, or form. It's been a gift to watch and learn from that, and it's helped us become better people, I think, as we've grown into adulthood here. Sorry, speaking for my sister as well. So, and I would also say that, in the small things behind the scenes, some of that selflessness that I've seen has just been heartwarming. People that were very ill, didn't have family or friends to come and visit them, she would go and do that. A good friend of ours, Selma, it's the wife of a dear friend of our family. When she started to age a lot more and couldn't quite get out and about like she used to, which she loved to do, one of the things that she loved to do was to go and get a manicure and or a pedicure and just look pretty, because that's women of a certain age, that's what they do. It's part of who they are, that routine. And I remember a time that we went over to visit Selma more than once, and Mom did her nails for her and painted her toenails and things like that. And I mean, that's the level of selflessness that we're talking about here. Those little things, not just the easy stuff. That takes time and just sitting and listening. And that was really appreciated by our dear friend. I think about her in the midst of being a parent full-time and taking on a lot of duties at the university. In 1990, she volunteered to captain or co-captain the March of Dimes walk and the giant team at BU. And in the meantime, I had run off with friends to IU that weekend to go to Little 500, sprained my ankle like very badly on the first maybe hour or two that I'm there. But I kind of knew, I share my mom with the city of Vincennes and the greater county and state at large, right? So I kind of knew I better not keep calling my mom to say, oh, hey, I need to ride home early or anything like that to deal with this severely sprained ankle situation, because she had all of that going on Sunday and who knows what else, So I kind of, kept that in my back pocket and waited to come home to her surprise for that Sunday and kind of let her know. And then after that whole day of everything she'd been doing, she had to take me to the ER to get my ankle looked at and all that. And even though it wasn't ideal some circumstances, she wasn't, angry with me. And then she tells me, as only a mom would, I had a feeling something was wrong. I just had a feeling. The other day, just something, I don't know. And, we do share that kind of connection, a bond of mother and daughter. And, but, even with all of that going on, she still juggled it all very gracefully and lovingly. And that was appreciated. And I think I'll sum up my remarks just with a quote from John D. Rockefeller Jr. that think of giving not as a duty, but as a privilege. And I really feel like it's been her privilege to give back to the community and love others and care for them as a woman, a Christian, a leader, a professional, and then some. And it's definitely been her privilege. So thank you. I salute you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dana. I'd like to, let's see, we have a winner of last year's Shelton Award here. I'd like to introduce Mr. Roy Inglis. Roy.
Thank you, Bernie. That'll come in later. Gazelle, I wore this shirt just for you, so. No, you can't have the shirt off my back. It'll scare too many people. 1983, I came to Vincennes and to the university. So it was just after the Dr. Beckus and Dr. Summers era had started then. And there was certain things in my role at the university that I always could count on Gazella for. And that was, I ran the physical education and the Bealis gym and the outdoor facilities, taught physical education and the soccer team, and I was one of the largest employers on campus. And that continued to grow as we built the aquatic center and then the student recreation center. Sorry, I forgot that thing was there. But one thing that we always did was dealing with the human resources office was you had to get proper information. You had to hire properly, you had to dismiss properly, you had to encourage, and you had to follow all the forms and all the legalities involved. And one thing that Gazella always did was tried and true, constant and consistent information. And if she didn't know the answer, she would go out and get it for you and get right back to you. So that was always appreciated as someone working with her on campus. 32 years, I've seen a lot. I've seen people come and go. You know, I worked for various presidents. I talked with Dr. Beckus and we took care of him because I'll get back to swimming. Swimming was one of his big ideas. He loved it. But Dr. Summers and Brian Blanchard and John Gregg and then Dr. Helton and Chuck Johnson before I left. But there's somebody that's been outliving and outperforming all of them. And she's here with us today. And that's why she's here with us today. Some things come and go, but Gazella sticks around. Dr. Summers always took pride in driving around campus in his red car. And what was on the license plate? VU 1801. Wasn't it?
Yes.
1801 on the license plate. I think we ought to start a petition and get 1802 for Gazella, because that's about what she meant to the university, and that's what the university meant to her. That is not a reference to when you started at the university. Because one of the other things that was kind of neat was every faculty and staff opening meeting of the fall semester, we would all meet, PE complex or one of the auditoriums, and now it's over at the Red Skelton, I believe. I think that's where they still have it. And you always, those that have been here 5 years or more, stand up. Those of you who have been here 10 years or more, stand up. And the number kept shrinking a little bit. Those that were here 75 years or more are still, Gazella would still be standing. Those that have been here 95 years, Gazella was still standing. She was always there. But that was something that was kind of fun to see, the longevity of people during my era when I came, the longevity of how long they lasted and performed for Vincennes University. And she's still going. Yes, roles might change, and yes, with the March of Dimes, as your daughter said, yes, with the post-prom parties and all the things that you were active and involved with. I did not know you had an aversion to the water. So, in 2011, we built the aquatic center on campus. So perhaps we could start a second petition to get it named Gazella Summit Aquatic Center. Just a thought. And you're coming up now to your very richly deserved Walter A. Davis Award coming on Saturday. And as we heard earlier, you don't have to cook. This is an inside information that's been passed on. I don't think you have to cook. I don't think you have to set up. I don't have to think you have to clean up or do the dishes or anything like that. I think it's going to be provided for you this time around. So you can sit back and enjoy that. Active and involved, if I could come up with 2 words, that's what Gazella has been, active and involved, consistent, and a constant that you can rely on, as others have already said. Perhaps we should start a new tradition. The Masters in the golf world passes on a green jacket. I didn't have a green jacket, but I brought one of my ski jackets, and since you took up aquatics, could I offer you a free ski lesson, maybe? As just a random thought, you might want that in the future. I'm pleased to be here. I'm pleased to be able to say a few things for Gazella in her support.
My girls are saying no on skiing.
Her daughters say no to the lessons, different places, no.
Wait, I think that's the insurance agent speaking.
Simulator?
Guaranteed, no problems. But it's an honor for me to be here. It's an honor for me to pass on my jacket to you as this year's recipient, and well earned, well deserved, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Roy. I would like to open it up. Do we have some folks in the audience who'd like to say a couple of things or more about Gazella? Mrs. Summer?
I had no idea that I would be up here or saying anything. But what I'm about to tell you, you're probably not even going to believe. Gazelle and I don't either. She and I, our two families, have known each other almost 70 years. It all goes back to Washington, Indiana, and to Wheatland, Indiana, and I will have to tell you that all of the years that Gazella has worked at the university, and all of the years that she and I, we're just a year apart in age. We'll soon have a birthday. We were just talking about 83 and 82 she's going to be. Anyway, I'm 83 and we're just still hanging on. But I can't tell you how much Gazella means to the university and has always meant to so many people there. I know because my husband would come home and he would talk and say so many good things about Gazella and what she had done for so many people. And I can't begin to tell you, Gazella, how much he appreciated everything you did. We have just, it's just amazing that we started out that many years ago and here we are today. God bless you, Gazella.
Thank you. We have some other testimonials. Denise?
So I'm Denise Swink, and I'm the past president of Kiwanis. And well, whenever I was a student at Vincennes University, well, that was in '94, and I got the pleasure of meeting you for the first time. I was a student senate, and we got to meet all the upper management at Vincennes University. And at the time, Philip Summers was president then, and you were just an inspiration to me. And you continue to be an inspiration to me throughout my life. And whenever they asked for us to take nominations for this award, you came to my mind. I thought you have been that person in my life that I kept going back to, that I thought just admired you and the good that you had done throughout the community. Even whenever I moved away to Chicago, I kept reading in the newspaper the good that you were doing, and you really touched me in my life, and I want to thank you. And no one else I think could have deserved this award better than you. So
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Anyone else? Anyone else? Do we have anyone else on Zoom who would like to talk? Say something about Gazella? Anything else, daughters? Unmute the
I
microphone.
think my Aunt Eleanor is trying to come off of the mute.
Yes. We'll give her just a moment.
Mute.
Arts electronics, wonderful.
There she is.
Eleanor, go right
Can you
ahead.
hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I really had planned remarks, but I just want you to know that I have the best sister in the entire world, and if I could only have one sibling, I'm so happy and thankful that God gave me Gazella. She and I are very, very close, and I am so proud of her, and I want to say congratulations, sis. I love you.
Love you too.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Anyone else here in our audience? If not, I'd like to introduce the president of the Vincennes Kiwanis Club for 2022-23, Joe Williams. Joe?
Thank you, Bernie, and thanks, big thanks to everybody who took the time today to help us to understand more about who Gazella is and what an impact she's had on our community. It was just amazing to hear all the people that she touched through her career and continues to have an impact. And I was impressed, but I would challenge everybody, don't be impressed, be inspired. And take this as a reminder of the impact that you can have on the community and step up and do more and try to be like her and know that service is its own reward. And she didn't do that to be recognized by us, and apparently institutions in Vincennes are just lining up to honor her right now. But she didn't do it for that. She did it just for the intrinsic value, for the enjoyment that service itself provides. So